All right, this is W7AZC, and we have less than a minute before the net starts, and I am looking for early verbal check-ins. Last call for those early verbal check-ins. Please come now to W7AZC with Teapot and PU's Tech Friday Net. Last call for check-ins before I start the net, and then we'll go through the list and I'll read the check-ins again. Any others, please come now. All right, good evening and welcome to Teapot PU's Tech Friday Net. My name is Sean, W7AZC, and I'll be your net control this evening. And tonight I am home in Yuma, Arizona. So, before we get started, I'd like to send it over to Mr. K4PU to start us off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please take it away, Dennis, W7AZC.
W7AZC K4PU, thank you, Sean. Tonight's pledge is dedicated to the class of 2020 for the United States Military Academy. These young men and women will become the battalion commanders, brigade commanders, and division commanders of tomorrow's modern army that will keep us all safe. The United States Military Academy, or also known as West Point, is an institution of higher education for the training of commissioned officers for the Army. It was originally founded as a school for the U.S. Corps of Engineers with a class of 5 officers and 10 cadets on March the 16th, 1802. It's one of the oldest service academies in the world, and it has its roots back to the Revolutionary War when it was used as a fortification by George Washington and others. Framed by the Hudson Highlands and poised above the Hudson River, the academy currently occupies about 16,000 acres in Orange County, New York, about 50 miles north of New York City. So, to the cadets and soon-to-be graduates and new second lieutenants of the United States Military Academy, we dedicate tonight's pledge. Would you please stand? Please remove your headgear. Place your right hand over your heart and face the flag if there's one nearby. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May God bless the United States Military Academy, and may God bless the United States of America. Back to you, Sean, W7AZC, K4PU.
Hey, K4PU, W7AZC, thank you very much. Great job as always. I appreciate that. This net and room is supported by Friends of Amateur Radio Group and its members. Please check them out at farg.club. And I won't even go in the swag because we're coronavirus locked up. But this is the directive net, and all communications will come through net control. I ask that you wait till net control asks for additional check-ins. Please do not key or break between stations. Please allow 4 to 5 seconds between key-ups. This allows the system to reset. This net is open to and welcomes all amateur radio operators. Teapot and PU's Tech Friday Net meets every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, that's 5 p.m. Pacific, with early verbal check-ins starting a half hour prior. We are using NetLogger tonight. If you don't have NetLogger, you can download for free at netlogger.org. It's not a requirement. If you are not using NetLogger tonight, please write down the call sign of the station following you, and this will help let the net run smoothly. With that, I am going to start with our current list, and then after that, I will ask for additional check-ins. Let me reset. All right, our current list as we have it. Starting us off tonight with our topic will be Mr. K4PU, Dennis in Jasper, Georgia. Following Dennis will be Adam, N4NT in Bristol, Tennessee. Following Adam will be Bob, K7RKL over there at Lake Havasu. Following Bob will be Chicago Matt in Harvey, Illinois, N9YBK. Following Matt will be Dave, WC9I in Yuma, Arizona. Dave, you will pass it to Al, KD2PNR in Mays Landing, New Jersey. Al, you'll pass it over to Mr. Jim, WA4RX, and over there in Virginia on the eastern shores there. At this time, is there any additional check-ins? Additional check-ins, please come now.
K8UYC, Kilo 8 Uniform Charlie.
All right, K8UYC. Jack, how are you doing tonight? We do have you on the list. Any other check-ins? All right, nothing heard. Well, good to see everybody tonight on the list here. We have a pretty good list. I do want to give a QST for what's going on. In 2 weeks, Matt will actually have the correct date because I don't know it off the top hand. I was driving when we made the date change there, but in 2 weeks, this net will be moving over to our All-Star room. We do have several ways to get into this net. You can either come in through All-Star, which will be 506-450, or you can come in through Echo Link, which will be W7AZC-L, or KD9JSX-L. You'll also be able to come in through DMR, and at this time of moment, the Brandmeister Talk Group will be 313-5550. We'll hopefully get that changed and actually get our name on the list. So, again, that'll be in approximately 2 weeks. Matt, when it's your turn, if you can actually give the date, because I do not remember off the top of my head. Let me reset. I had something else I was going to say, and it just left me for good. So I'll probably add it around the second round if I can remember what it was. We do have a pretty good topic tonight. And Jim, WA4RX, before we get started, Jim, I'd like to hear what project you got going on in the wind there, because it kind of ties on with our topic tonight. WA4RX, let us know what you're doing. This is W7AZC.
And we went out and walked around and since then measured the distance. It's around 550 feet. I'm going to make a big loop antenna. I'm very fortunate. I get 2.5 acres here of property with a lot of trees on it, so I'm going to use those trees. And I'll start off with my tower. That'll be the start and stopping point of the loop. And I'll go down to through a tree, to a tree, corner, make a corner there, and then go over to another tree, make a corner there, and then go up to a big sycamore tree, which is 110 feet tall. So I'm going to go up as high as I can, and then I'm going to come back down to the tower. So as a result of all that, I started talking to K4PU, and we started talking about antenna tuners, which is probably which led to the topic tonight. So I won't go any further detail, but to say that I've already scoped out what kind of wire I'm going to purchase, and I've already, due to K4PU, he'll talk about the type of tuner that he suggests for this type of antenna, and probably any antenna too, from the way he talked. So that's what kicked this thing off, and so I'm still working on a project to design the loop. I might make it longer or shorter. It all depends on the computer suggestions as to what would be the best distance to cover the 160 through 6 meters that I plan to do. So back to you, Sean. That's kind of it in a nutshell. W78C, WA4X.
WA4RX, W7AZC. You've pretty broken up, at least on my end, at the beginning there, but then it cleared up. So if you guys didn't catch it, Jim there is making a very large loop antenna, and we're really glad to hear about the project, and we're glad he's taking it on, and hope he does very well with that. I do remember what I was going to say. If you are very antisocial, you might not want to turn on HF this weekend. HF is going to be crowded. We do have 7-LAN QSO party. That's all of 7-LAN in one QSO party. And that's not it, ladies and gentlemen. We also got New England's QSO party on the same weekend. It is going to be crowded and it's going to be busy. So if you want to work some stations, have at it. I am probably going to set up the antenna. I am going to call from my location here in Yuma, and but I'll only be putting out 20 watts, but I've been doing really well with it. So I'm not going to be on there a lot, but I will come on every now and then in between some family time. So that's all I have. So Mr. Dennis, it's all you, and you can shoot down the list when you're done. K4PU, W7AZC.
W7AZC and the net K4PU. Good evening, everyone on the net. Tonight's topic is antenna tuners. I'll probably end up resetting several times, but basically here's what we're going to discuss. What is an antenna tuner? What does it do? What does it not do? What are the different types of antenna tuners? And how are they configured? Where do you put the antenna tuner in the HF chain? And basically how they're organized and how to operate them, and the two basic types of antenna tuners. So, first of all, what does an antenna tuner do? Well, what it does is it takes that thing that you screw in the back of your HF radio, and it matches its impedance to the radio impedance. What is impedance? Without glazing everybody's eyes over with and talking about reactive components, both inductive and capacitive reactive components. Basically, impedance is the inductant reactance, the capacitive reactance, and pure good old garden variety resistance. In the case of most HF rigs, the nominal impedance is usually around 50 ohms. That's what we shoot for. So, what does an antenna tuner do? It takes the thing that you screw in the back of the radio and it makes it tell the radio that it's 50 ohms. And what is it you screw in the back of the radio? Well, on the back of my radios, it all says antenna, but you don't do that. You don't put the antenna in the back of the radio. You screw in a feed line, a coax connector, or in some cases, an unbalanced feed line. We'll talk about that in a minute. So basically what it does is the tuner tells the radio that the transmission line is 50 ohms, and that makes the radio happy. The radio doesn't like it when anything other than 50 ohms is being presented at its output. And if it has anything other than 50 ohms, you get a high standing wave ratio. What is the standing wave ratio? Most of you guys already know all this stuff. It is the ratio of the power that makes it down to the antenna versus the power that does it and comes back toward the radio. Let me reset. So if you have a mismatch, in other words, let's say that you have 150 ohms instead of 50 ohms being presented at your antenna coax connector, the radio doesn't like that, and the antenna tuner will take that and change it, and it basically lies to the radio and tells it it's 50 ohms. It doesn't really do anything for the antenna at that juncture if you're using an automatic antenna tuner, so one that comes with the radio. If you don't match the impedance, if you don't have what's called resonant, in other words, at the frequency you want to transmit on, let's say you're on 40 meters, you want to transmit on 7,200. If at 7,200 at your normal output power, you're looking at anything other than 50 ohms, some of the modern radios will actually shut the rig down. They'll either power it back where you're not putting out much output power, or it'll sometimes just shut it down. If it doesn't have a protection circuit in it, it'll just blow your finals out of your radio and you'll have an expensive repair bill. Okay, so I've said that basically an antenna tuner tells the back of the radio what's going on. The two types of antenna tuners are automatic and manual. The automatic ones have a series of variable capacitors and variable inductors, relays, little servo motors, and all kinds of other electronic components that start searching for that resonant frequency that will give you 50 ohms at the output. And sometimes this is good, sometimes this is not good, because it's going through all these calculations, and what it's doing is it's powering your transmitter this whole time. So let's say it takes it 5 minutes to find a 50 ohm spot in its little bank of capacitors and inductors. Well, you've been operating your radio at a high SWR, and you can still damage it. So that's why you really don't want to use antenna tuners to just match the coax to the back of your radio. What you want to do, let me reset again. What you want to do, and this is what Jim is going to do when he builds his antenna, is you want to build the antenna. You want to design and build your antenna where it will resonate. It will be 50 ohms presented through the antenna, through the feed line, into the back of your transceiver or transmitter at the frequency you want to operate it on. In other words, an antenna tuner is not a substitute for good antenna design and construction. If you can build the antenna where it resonates properly at the frequencies you want it on, then you can use the antenna tuner to kind of clean things up a little bit if you really are a perfectionist and want better than one-to-one SWR. What is one-to-one SWR? That means the power going out is 100%, none of it's coming back towards you. There will always be nominal line losses along the way when you transmit, but that's not the high SWR. Okay, let me skip over here a little bit and say, how do you hook in an antenna tuner? And it doesn't make any difference whether it's a manual or automatic, but we will discuss the differences in a minute. You start with your transmitter. The next thing that goes in the chain is your SWR meter, because that is highly important. Because you may make your radio happy, but you still may have a high SWR. You may be matched where the coax goes in the back of the transceiver, but you may have a mismatch down where the coax screws into your antenna. So you need that SWR meter. It goes first. Then comes the antenna tuning unit. Some people refer to it as a matchbox, whether it's automatic or manual. Now, some both manual and automatic antenna tuner units have built-in SWR meters, and if they do, they automatically are in the right spot, so you don't have to worry about that. You just connect the antenna tuner to your transmitter and the antenna to the antenna tuner. Let me reset again. This is K4PU on Teapot PU's Friday Tech Night, and we're talking about antenna tuners. Okay, so why is a manual antenna tuner, in my opinion, preferable over an automatic? Well, we discussed that earlier. The automatic one goes through all these calculations and strings out how long it takes to find a match, if it can find a match, to make your transmitter happy, and meanwhile you're operating at full power or whatever power you're operating at with a high SWR, which is not healthy for your rig. With a manual antenna tuner, you control the process. You can slow it down, you can speed it up, you can take your time, you can pause in between, you can lower the output power on your transmitter so that you're actually tuning it up in a lower power so that if you do have a high SWR, you won't have that much power coming back towards you. There are a lot of things you can do. So manual is preferable, in my opinion. What kind of manual? Well, there are different types of manual antenna tuners, but the one I like the most is called the roller inductor type. And basically, it's very simple. It's simple to build, too. If you go to a Hamfest, you can buy the components to build a really nice manual antenna tuner for less than $150. Try buying one for that. Let me reset again because my PTT thumb's getting sore. So basically what you have inside the box is a capacitor, a variable capacitor, a band switch, and a roller inductor, and another capacitor, if you're using the roller inductor type. The second type of manual is what's called a tapped inductor. Instead of having a roller that rolls around on the wire coil of the inductor, kind of like a train wheel goes down a railroad track, which is what a roller inductor does, a tapped coil has the same coil, but it's tapped at various different spots, and all these taps come out to a rotary switch. And so you can get in the ballpark with the rotary switch and then clean it up with the capacitors. The roller inductor is preferable because it is constantly being adjusted. You don't have dead spots in between where the taps are. So how does it operate? Well, the first thing that I do when I use my manual antenna tuner is there are two variable capacitors. One's called the receive, one called the transmit, or sometimes it's called the antenna and the transmit. I adjust the antenna variable capacitor until I get good signal noise in my receiver. K4PU with Teapot and PU's Friday Tech 9, I'm going to reset 2 more times. So I adjust the receive capacitor until I'm hearing the strongest possible signal in my speaker of my receiver. Then I take the transmit variable capacitor and I will key up usually at low power to begin with, trying to find a spot where there's nobody there because everybody knows how rude it is to tune up on top of somebody. Close the key on my telegraph key and adjust that until I get the best SWR reading I can. Then I go to the roller inductor and adjust that and usually get that down to 0 if you can, but as low as you possibly can. And that is how a roller inductor antenna tuner works. There are lots of other things we could talk about, but I think I will stop at this point, run down the list, and see what questions you have. This is K4PU, handing it over to Adam, N4NT in Bristol, Tennessee. Sir, it's your turn.
Well, good evening, everybody on the net. I definitely appreciate the topic tonight, and I was just going to mention real quick that on my YouTube channel called Ham Radio Zone, I am broadcasting the net live, and that will be uploaded or stay uploaded, however you look at it, onto that YouTube channel, so you can pull this information back up later. And I will try to, especially technical nets like this that provide that kind of information, this kind of thing I'm looking for. I'll try to do that more in the future. Yeah, as far as my tuner goes, I've got the Ameritron ATR 30. It's a roller inductor tuner. It does a real good job. Sorry about that. I had to reset. Hopefully all that was going out. Yeah, it's a roller inductor tuner. Does a really good job, and the manual actually comes with some presettings that you can set it to depending on which band you're on. They're fairly accurate. They get you pretty close anyway. And another thing I have done, I actually made myself a couple charts on Excel. I do a lot of FT8, so I have all my settings for my FT8 frequencies, which are close enough that work for FT4 now. I've been doing that too. It's pretty much wherever I set that tuner, depending on which antenna I'm on. I've got it typed up, and sometimes I have to tweak it just a little bit, depending. But I do that for FT8, and then portions of each band that are a little higher up. That way, that he was talking about the amount of tuning time and all that. That cuts that down tremendously, because most of the time it's pretty much set it on those settings, and it's right. You don't have to fool with it. But one thing I have discovered over the years, and I guess through trial and error too, the closer you can get your antennas to matching, the better. When you're running 100 watts or whatever the radio puts out, you can throw up something crazy and kind of take a tuner and make it work. But when you get into running a little more power, you might have to have things matched a little bit closer. But one question I do have, and I think the person I'm getting ready to turn it to might be able to answer it there. Well, I was thinking Matt, but now I'm looking at NetLogger and somebody else. But anyway, somebody down the line might be able to answer this question. But you mentioned moving this net over to All-Star node. Will I still be able to access it through Wires X? That's my question for whoever can answer it. And looks like the person up after me is K7RKL. That's N4NT.
Well, thanks, Adam. And I don't think they have a bridge from the Wires X to the All Star, so I don't know. They can't. Don't hold me to that. I don't know. But oh man, it's a perfect topic. I was playing. I have a LDG Z100 plus whatever that I usually use. But I was playing with the G5RV a couple weeks ago, and with the ICOM 718, I could not get it to tune at all, So I got an old MFJ 959. This thing is sweet. It's huge, but it will tune a clothes hanger. That thing is nice, but I don't know. I hooked it. Started trying to tune it, my needles weren't working, so I don't know. I gotta pull the top off, find out which board is bad. Oh well, it's a nice tuner when it works, but it's not working right now. So Matt, I'll just go ahead and pass it to you, and
All right, thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. And 9YBK, Chicago Matt here. Great information. And I have a question. I've mostly been using one of those auto tuners for my 991A. But my question is, what SWR meter do you recommend? From a low-end inexpensive to mid-range or even high-end. Just was kind of thinking about getting one and haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. Wasn't sure what to get. So anybody that could answer that would be greatly appreciated. And as for the net moving, the official date will be May the 15th. That's Friday, May 15th. And no, it does not have a bridge to Wires X at this time. We do have a DMR connection, so you'll be able to connect via DMR, but not Wires X. All right, with that, looks like I'm passing it to WC9I. Your turn from N9YBK.
let me double check and make sure we didn't get, looked like we might have had a tail got grabbed there. Let's try it again. Let me start back with, Dave there. Are you there, Dave?
Yeah, Sean, can you hear me?
QSL. Well, I hunted it down there, Dave. You're not coming through my node, but you are coming through a node. Looks like a repeater, KC6LRL. So, anyways, go ahead and take your turn, and if you would, pass it to KD2 PNR. Thank you. We might have some technical difficulties coming in through that link over there. We didn't copy you at all this time, Dave, but I'll try to get you down the list here. KD2 PNR, Al, you with us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am with you. It looks like I'm in there. I think what happened the first time we had the silence was Dave might have been a little quick on the trigger because Matt was had it locked on the reflector, and once it dropped, you were right on there. So that was the first time. Second time, I don't know what happened. It looked like I was watching the reflector closely, and nothing seemed to happen. So there may be another problem going on. But anyway, we're rocking and rolling now. Great, Matt. So let's see, a couple of comments here. Auto tuner wise, I'm running a Valstar HF Auto here. It's their latest and greatest auto tuner. I'm quite happy with it and the way it performs. One of the things they've added nowadays to the more modern auto tuners is they have a memory, and in fact they slice up the frequency bandwidth for each of the ham bands and make bins. And what happens is when you change to a new frequency, if there's nothing in the bin for it, it will tune, and it goes and rocks and rolls for a while. I do my tuning at 5 watts, so I'm not trying to push something hard through it. I run CB or AM or something like that in, but only the lowest power I can do, and it seems to be working just fine. Once it's memorized that setting, the next time you tune to that frequency or any frequency that happens to calculate into that bin, it will immediately just scroll right to that place. So when I change a band or make some big change, from one end of the band to the other, whatever, I will usually just give it a real quick key. It only takes a fraction of a second, but I'll give it a quick shot of something and it'll go rolling off to wherever the settings are. So then it's set perfectly. I try not to transmit during that just because I know it's going to be tuning and there's no real reason to. So that's how I deal with it. I've been very happy with it. It seems to work really well. So there's that for tuners. A couple of other things are just coincidental. One of them is somebody was talking about SWR meters, and all I can do is throw out my 2 cents worth in what I've done. I have a few Daiwa here. I have a guy over at my local toy store, HRO, that builds a lot of antennas and is really, really into antennas. He can confuse me in no time at all. And let me make sure I'm still in here. Yeah, I think I am. Okay. So he does a lot of antenna work. He recommended the Daiwa, claimed that you need to spend a whole bunch more money than Daiwa. There, I timed out. I knew I was gonna. Always do. Silent 400 timeout. He said, the other ones in that area, the MFJ and whatever, they're all okay. he likes the Daiwa. I've been very happy with the Daiwa. I've got a regular HF. I've got another one that's custom tuned for VHF, UHF, and then I've got a smaller one, which was the first one that I bought, and I can pick that up and take it wherever I need to or whatever. So I have 3 of them, been happy with those. And on the antenna there, Jim, we can talk about it sometime. I got a friend of mine that's put up he has a Delta loop, and which is basically a triangle. I want to put up a sky loop, which is essentially a circle, or as close as you can get to it, because I got the room to do it. But I'm looking for something for 160, and I calculate it's going to take 524 feet of wire to do that. So I'm not sure how much room you got for that much wire, or you're only looking for 80. Anyway, that's kind of what I know in a nutshell. We can talk about that some other time. Anyway, that's it for me for the moment. I'll send it on down to Jim, WA4RX. You got it. KD2, PNR.
KD2, PNR, WA4X. Well, I've been having trouble with my finger on the mic button, so I'm sorry about the first part of this. I hope that everything's going straight and smooth now. And anyway, needless to say, I had planned to do a 500 and measured it with a tape measure around 550 yard loop antenna. So that's going to be a big project. I'm going to start in a couple of weeks and see where we go from there. So, Jack, UIC, why don't you tell us what's going on down over in Delaware now that you're back from Florida? Over.
WA4RX, KUIC in the group. Yeah, fine business. Glad you're doing okay there, Jim. Glad to hear that you're on. I left you a message on your machine. I had to check up on you. Anyway, yeah, we do the tuning, okay, of mine, okay, using the MFJ antenna analyzer into the tuner. I actually have a transmit receive box, okay, that I electrically switch from the antenna to the antenna tuner analyzer, and then I can tune my tuner up. Of course, that's very low power, and I'm right on the button and all that sort of stuff. But do you have a question? Let me get a nickel here. And do you have a question, okay, about the placement of the antenna tuner? Most people put it at right in the shack. Now, do have the ones that are at the antenna. I'll have to ask one of the gurus, Dennis, okay, which is, I've always thought it might be better to put it at the antenna, but I'm not sure. Now, I know they do have remote antenna tuners, and go from there. So anyway, with that, we're going to shoot it back to Sean, W7AZC. This is KUIC.
All right, thank you, Jack, and great questions and comments all around. Before we do have some additions that were added along the way here, coming in through either the AIM window, actually 2 of them, and one actually coming in via YouTube. So let me go back to Dave and see if he can get in here again. I want to leave him out. WC9I, W7AZC. Go ahead and take your turn and send it back to me when you're done.
W7AZC, WC9I. Hopefully I can get into your system this time. Yes, I'm very familiar with the antenna tuners. I have a 200-foot dipole back on the farm in Indiana that I'm feeding with 450 ohm ladder line into my tuner, and I work all bands with it, and it works just great. Sean, we'll turn it back to you just to make sure that we're hitting the system right. Let's see, W7AUZC, WZ99.
All right, Dave, we got you a full copy that time around, so we'll hold your spot on the list there. And let me get our YouTube member. We'll say hi to N9KKN, Randy, over there in Illinois. He's coming in and watching via YouTube. Thanks again, Adam, for doing that. And then our new additions is KN4HND Scott. Scott, please pass it over to Bill and 7BRB. Bill, go ahead and pass it back up to me, and we'll check for some check-ins after that. Go ahead, Scott. Take it away, W7AZC.
W7AZC, KN4HND. Don't really have anything to add, guys. I've been listening and enjoying the net, and appreciate you guys doing the net, Sean and Dennis. I really do. KN4HND, Scott, and Wilkes above, back to net control.
And 7BRB, W7AZC, it's your turn, Bill.
Already, hopefully I let it drop enough. Yeah, I'm out here since they opened up the state of Idaho here. Yeah, and that was probably just a text message. Yeah, they opened up Idaho here, and for a few things, and this place is like driving downtown Seattle. So I'm just had to go shopping, and I'm outside. I had a problem with my hotspot. I had to reset the room for some reason. I don't know what happened. It was on my end because I couldn't hear anybody. So with that, I don't know what round we were on. I was helping the wife unload the cart into the back of the truck. So I'll pass it back to you, Sean. W7AZC and 7BRB Mobile.
All right, thank you, Bill. And I'm just going to give everybody a heads up. I thought I grabbed my charger for this radio, and I did not. So if I just disappear, K4PU will be taking charge. I'm looking at my battery indicator. It's not looking good. So at this time, is there any additional check-ins before we start our second round? Please come now.
81HF.
All right, KD1HF. Good to hear you, Mike, and I finally saw your message there. I will shoot you my number if you haven't got it set up. You can give me a call tomorrow, but I will shoot that off to you. Just remember, I'm technically on Pacific time, so. But yeah, I'll shoot that off to you, and I'll help you walk you through that if you haven't already. But go ahead and take your turn and send it back up to me, and we'll get our second round started.
Okay, I heard about antennas and stuff, so, and tuners, yeah, I gotta get all that done here, get my antennas straightened away. I went through my goodies I was collecting over the years. I have in a box I found a brand new, ready-made 160-meter dipole. It's got a bail in the middle, 2 end connectors, and however long the wires are for 160. I found 270 feet of 14 stranded wire,
and some porcelain ends and a center conductor to make another 160 meter. And I just bought for my antennas like 2 weeks ago, end-fed dipole that's 259 feet long with a 3 kilowatt box on it that you mount on your tower or a pole and then stretch that thing out to 259 feet. It's supposed to cover 40, 60, 80, and 160 and be resonant somewhere on all of those bands. So they said. So we'll see what happens. I guess there's harmonics in there or something. But I don't know if I'll ever get that one up. I don't know if I'll ever get any of them up, but I got 3 160 meter choices. So, and lots of gear. So, anyway, very good. And I use LDGs at the moment. I might get one of those flagpole antennas, though, if depending on which house I decide to stay in. And if I did that over here at this smaller house, I would put that out in the front yard, and that's supposed to cover them all vertical, so you get noise and whatever verticals do. But for a blind guy that can't climb and so on and so forth, it might be easier. Just a simple answer. So with that, I'll turn it back up to net control, and definitely be looking forward to your phone number. I got the Raspberry Pi built. I got the Sherry Note in stock, and a friend of mine is burning going to print me some images tomorrow. So I'm at the point where I'll probably put the software into the Pi and then try to get that, whatever that was, Max, Mobi X firm or something they had you to print the image and some kind of VoIP. So, well, we get all that started, and so we'll go from there. So I'll turn it back up to you. W7AZC from K81HF.
All right. Thank you very much there, Mike. All right, one more try before early check-ins, and then I got to read this list kind of fast because I don't know if I'm going to make it. Any other check-ins? Any other check-ins? Please come now.
KW4AG.
All right, Dennis, I got you on the list, and due to our time, I'm just going to go down our list and we'll grab you on the second round here. So we got K4PU, N4NT, Bob checked out. We got a W9, N9YVK, and then a WC9I, KD2PNR, WA4RX, K8UYC, KN4HND, and N7BRB, KD1HF, and KW4AG. Thanks for joining us, Dennis. And with that, go ahead and take it away, Dennis. I'm not going to really take a turn because I'm about ready to have my radio go say goodnight. So go ahead and take it away, W7AZC.
All right, thanks, Sean, for letting me check in. I'm to make it short and sweet because I got another net I want to go listen to, so I'll say 7-3 for now and turn it back to net controller, KW4AG.
All right, Dennis, I'll show you in and out. Go ahead and take it away, Dennis. K4PU, W7AZC.
Yeah, you forgot to specify which Dennis. You just said take it away, Dennis. Anyway, this is K4PU. Okay, a few things. First of all, SWR meters. I have 6 Daiwa SWR meters. I am very pleased with all 6 of them. They've worked well. I have 2 new ones. The rest of them are a few years old, but I've never had a problem with them and really enjoy them. The second thing is, if you have a well-designed and well-constructed antenna, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with an automatic antenna tuner. That's what I use most of the time, probably 90% of the time. I use the antenna tuner that's in my FDVX 5000 or the Yaesu linear amplifier that comes with it, whichever antenna tuner is the best. So if you've got a well-designed antenna, there's nothing wrong with that. When do you have to have a roller inductor antenna? If you have an unbalanced system, which is coax, 50 ohm, RG8, RG213, all that other stuff, RG8X, that is an unbalanced system, and you have to have, if you're using a balanced system with a ladder line, that's what a ladder line is, it's a balanced system, you have to have a manual antenna tuner, or you have to have an automatic antenna tuner with a built-in balun. Balun, by the way, B-A-L, balanced, U-N, unbalanced. It takes balance and connects it to unbalance. There, ergo the word balun. So if you don't have an automatic antenna tuner with a balun built in, you need a manual antenna tuner with the ladder line. That also goes to the question that was asked about where is it best to put the antenna tuner, in the shack or out at the antenna. If you can remote control it, if it's not a manual antenna tuner, a roller inductor you can't put out there unless you have an electric servo motor attached to it, because you have to be manipulating the controls manually to get it to work. So if you're not using a manual antenna tuner and you're using an automatic, it's always better to put it out at the antenna, always. If you're using a manual one, that makes it pretty hard to do. So that needs to stay in the shack. Let's see, I think I've answered all the questions. I also have the ATR30 a manual antenna tuner with a rotor inductor in it, and I've had it for years, and it works great, especially when you're using an unbalanced system, which I have a couple of dipoles that are like that. I think I've answered the questions that are out there, and I've timed out. Let me reset. Okay, this is K4PU saying 73 to everybody, and I'm going to turn it over to Adam, N4NT. Take it away, sir.
You're talking about putting a manual antenna tuner at the close to the antenna, putting it outside, something like that. How you'd have to do that, but you got to recall the days of before cable and satellite and all that. If you ever remember climbing up on the roof and twisting the TV antenna because you didn't have a rotor, and have somebody on the inside yelling when everything was okay. So if you do that, maybe you could do it, but you had to weatherproof it, put it in something. But anyway, that was just a funny thought I had about it. But I appreciate the information tonight. It's certainly been beneficial, and I hope it'll be beneficial to others out there, and they'll be able to pull that information up later on YouTube if they want to reference it. I'll probably go in and add the antenna tuner topic to the name or somewhere in the description on YouTube, so that way when people start searching for that information, this should come up. But anyway, that's all I have to add to the conversation tonight, and I'll say 7-3 to everybody, and let's see I guess I'm gonna be turning it to Matt. It looks like the next line for me to check out. So N9YBK, it's all yours, Matt. It's N4NT.
N4NT group. Thank you very much, Adam. Appreciate that. Nothing more to add. I will check on the SWR meters and go from there. So 7-3. Talk to you again soon. N9YBK over to WC9I, I believe it was.
N9YBK WC9I. Well, it's been a pleasure listening to the net. Hopefully we'll get back on here again. So we'll say 73s, and we'll turn it over to Al, KB2, PNR.
Okay, thank you, David. KB2 PNR returning. I didn't write anything more down, so you guys are lucky. I don't have too much more to add to this. I think we did a great job covering it. Nice job, Dennis. Very interesting. And maybe another idea for the next topic might be balance and what you need, where you might want to put it, and design your own antennas, stuff like that. So just a thought. Anyway, that's it. I'm gonna send it to Jim. WA4RX, KD2 PNR, 73 guys.
KD2 PNR. RX. Well, thank you, Al. I haven't got anything else to add right now either. A very good presentation, Dennis. We greatly appreciate it. Always good to have good learning experiences, and I'll be bragging about how good mine works when I get it all set up and done, I hope. That's what my hope is anyway. So we greatly appreciate you doing this tonight. Sean, the good running the net, and glad you made it home safely, and hope you enjoy the wild activity on HF tomorrow. So, Jack, I'll turn it over to you. 73 to everyone, and have a good weekend. K8UYC WA4RX.
W4 WA4RX K8UYC in the group. Yeah, fine visible thing. Okay. I had. I forget who was talking about the Armstrong rotator, the old Armstrong rotator, pointed in the right direction. Anyway, that's been a while since people did that. Anyway, appreciate all the info. It was good listening to it and going from there. I've been a ham for a long time, but I still don't know a lot. Anyway, we'll shoot it over to, I think Scott gets it, KN4HND, to take it. This is K8UYC, 73 guys. See you on the next. Scott, take it away.
KN4HND, Scott, your turn. Nothing heard. So, there goes to N7BRB. Go ahead and take it, Bill, and we'll try Scott before we close out. N7BRB, probably having technical difficulties, and I can't find you on Messenger. Oh my. N7BRB, it's your turn. All right. Well, I see Scott logged off in that logger, so KD1HF, take it away, Mike. All right, just double check. K4PU, I know I'm getting the server, but do I have audio? Back to you.
Yep, I think just a lot of people checked out without telling us, that's all.
All right, I just want to make sure because my battery is extremely low. I believe Dennis, KW4AG was out, but let me just double check. Dennis, you still there?
KD1HF.
Saying I didn't mark it. Is there any additional check-ins that I'd like to come before we close out the net? Please come now.
Yeah, KD1HF checked in.
I said Mike was there. I didn't catch it. I didn't see it. But KD1HF, if you're there, go for it.
Okay, I'm here. I apologize for that. I grabbed the wrong microphone. FD891 sitting right next to that 7250. I'm talking on the mic, and then you talked, and I realized I wasn't on the right radio. Different mic. 7-3, guys. Have a great weekend, and hope all goes well. Everybody's safe and healthy. So, back over to you. W7AZC from K81HF. 7-3.
Mike, and I don't know what you're doing. It's not like any of us have ever done that. Man, terrible, terrible. I love it when I realize I've been transmitting on a whole different room for a minute or two before I look down and go, man, these people are probably wondering, who the heck am I talking to? One more time, any additional check-ins, please come now. All right, nothing heard. I want to do I want to make a closing comment, and I'll do a closing statement. If for some reason I drop out, I want to say 73s for now. You guys have a great night. For my closing comment, Adam, N4NT, if you can add a link to that YouTube to the Teapot and PU's Facebook page, I greatly appreciate that. It's the easiest way to get there is teapotsnet.com. It's TEAPOTSNET, all one word, .com. I appreciate that. And another thing, we also do have Echolink that will be going into the All-Star. We will probably be doing special nets on Friday nights every now and then, and we'll try to keep everybody informed on that. With that, for some reason, okay, Dennis stopped blogging. Okay. Let me do the closing statement. Thank you everyone for your participation in our net tonight. Any additional questions, comments, or topic ideas, or you'd even like to be net control, please get a hold of myself, W7AZC at ARRL.net, or K4PU at ARRL.net. Please don't forget the Easy to Hear net on this room at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time in this room. They start check-ins half hour prior. And also Monday night will be the net with no name. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Half hour check-ins. And that will also be on Wednesday night. Monday and Wednesday nights for the net with no name. I want to say 73 to everybody. Thank you for your participation. And write down on your calendar, we're moving over to All-Star. Again, we do have 2 Echolink connections, and we have a DMR connection in addition to the All-Star. We do have a great group of people over on the All-Star side. Quite a few of you are part of that group, so hope to hear you guys there. Again, as I time them out with a dead battery. I just lost everything. It's been a long day. I started driving at 11 o'clock, about 11 o'clock last night Pacific time, and I'm still going. So I'm tired. Again, we're not abandoning the room. We're just trying to expand and give some of the people on the other side a net that we greatly need over in the other room. We will be filling Friday night with special event nets every now and then. And if you are interested in possibly hosting a net, please get a hold of myself or Matt in 9YBK at ARRL.net. And we'd love to talk to you about it, and maybe you can have a net on here. Or even All-Star, your choice, or both. So 73s, everybody, and this is W7AZC. I'll be closing down the net at 0105 ETC and returning this room back to normal amateur radio use. Everybody have a great night. 73s, and thank you for everybody joining us.